record. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So we'd like to dedicate this presentation to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Dev Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Shurato Pangur Mama Manda Matirgati Matsarvasvapadam Bojo Radha Madanamo Hanao Divya Brindaranyo Kalpadrumadaha Srimat Ratnagado Simhasanosto Srimat Radha Srila Govinda Deva Prashtalibihi Sevyamano Smarami Sriman Rasarasarambi Vamsivata Statastitaha Karshan Venu Swanergopir Gopinatha Shriestunaha Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Dharma Projito Kaitavo Vatra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vatstavam Atra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayon Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Pare Ishvaraha Sadhyo Hridya Varudyate Atra Kritibihi Sushubhi Stakshanat. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by the culture of this knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Nikamakalpatarurgalitam phalam supramapatam ritadravyasamhitam pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam muraho rasika bhuvibhavataha nastaprayeshu vadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavatir Naishtaki Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishihi Nishreya Saya Lokasya Dhanyam Swasti Ayanam Mahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of God, and it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people, and it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Tvai me ananda vishaya matir madhupati asakrit pratim udvahata tada gange vaugam mudanvati. O Lord of sweetness, as the Ganga forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you alone without being diverted to anyone else. नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिविघ्नविनाशनरसिंहाय नामिने मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदिनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्यमीश्वरम् ॐ तत्सत्. By the blessings of Guru and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the blind can see the stars, the mute can recite poetry, and the lame can cross mountains. So, with all their blessings, right? So, we are continuing with our second canto, chapter 4, the process of creation. So, we are covering part 4, and hopefully, we can finish this today, this chapter. So, quickly recapping, this is what we've covered previous session. So, this is chapter 4 basically. So chapter 4 begins with the description of how, after hearing chapter 1, 2, and 3 from Sukadev Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj was ready to go into meditation. So he closes his eyes and he completely renounces everything, whatever connection that he has, he is able to completely renounce. So why he's able to completely renounce is because he has become completely attached to the lotus feet of Krishna. So that's the reason he could completely renounce. So that's the secret, right? So it's not possible to renounce material world or material creation or our material attachments without developing attachment to the Lord. So this is the way. Because when we remove something, there is emptiness. So our nature is that we do not have emptiness. The nature of the soul is it's not empty. So we have to replace that attachment with something else. We cannot remaining empty is a neutral artificial state. So that is like what we call liberation. So one cannot, it's like sitting on a fence, you cannot sit on the fence forever. How long we can sit on the fence? Eventually our buttocks will become painful. So fence is not meant for sitting. You can't live like another example is in a boundary of a city, of a country. So it's either this country or that country. You cannot build a house in the boundary, in the boundary area of the country, the border. So you have to cross either side. So therefore, this is the way to develop our attachment to the Lord. So that is what Parikshit Maharaj managed. So the perfection of Maharaj Parikshit's renunciation was described. So, and what is this perfection? The perfection of attachment to the Lord is not, it's not something which is inert. It's not something where one just, does nothing. It's an active thing. The service of the Lord is an active thing. So therefore, when he goes into the meditation, immediately his mind becomes filled with all kinds of topics of the Lord. So one remembers the Lord, one remembers the topics of the Lord straight away. This is the perfection of our smaranam process. Smaranam comes from, first it starts with Shravanam, which is hearing, then followed with chanting, Kirtanam, and when we progress with Kirtanam nicely, then Smaranam will come, which is remembrance of the Lord. Automatically it will come, the remembrance of the Lord. So, one's mind becomes very active about it. One constantly wants to think, okay, what is this? What did the Lord do? How did the Lord do this? Always thinking and thinking and thinking about the Lord. The mind is just filled with the Lord. So that's what happened to Parikshit Maharaj. So immediately he put forth, so because he knows he is not alone, you see. He is in front. He has a wonderful opportunity where he's called Mahabhagyavan, right? Extremely fortunate. Why? Because a very, very wonderful, great personality was right in front of him. That was Sukadev Goswami. So taking advantage of this wonderful association of Sukadev Goswami, who is non-different than the Lord itself, he is like known as the literary Bhakta incarnation of the Lord. So sometimes he is also referred to as Bhagavan. So therefore, taking advantage of the presence of Sukadev Goswami, he immediately put forth questions. And Parikshit Maharaj is setting an example. So the first level for a sadhaka to understand, right? We have gone in chapters 1, 2, and 3, Sukadev Goswami has summarized the entire Bhagavatam. But now, more details. So it begins with creation. So he asks about Sarga and Visarga. Sarga means primary creation. Visarga means secondary creation. So primary creation is the creation of the material elements, the universe, right? Just the elements alone, just creation of the, pradhan to Mahatattva, and then the differentiations and all that. So how Prakriti transforms from unmanifest to manifest, from undifferentiated to differentiated. So that is primary creation. And for the primary creation, basically, it is the Lord himself who does the work. Of course, he doesn't do work. He just lies down and goes to sleep. And then he's basically his energies are all working around him. So that is how we heard about Mahavishnu, Karanodakashaya Vishnu, how Karanodakashaya Vishnu glances at material nature. And by the power of his glance, the glance agitates material nature and makes it appear. So we heard about all this in our previous sessions. So anyway, so Sukadev Goswami was asked to speak about creation. But before Sukadev Goswami speaks about creation, when he heard this question, so he immediately he offers prayers to the Lord. So this is the way devotees, like for example, when we have classes, when we do Bhagavad Gita class or Bhagavatam class, before we start our class, the idea is we cannot speak anything by our own ability, with our own intelligence, with our own understanding. We have to beg for the mercy of the parampara, because and that's what we are going to hear a lot from today. Today's topic is all about that. So we have to get the mercy of Krishna. How to get the mercy of Krishna? The mercy of Krishna flows through the pipe, like water flows through the pipe. The mercy of Krishna flows through a pipe, and we cannot get to the pipe. What is the pipe? The pipe is the parampara. So it comes through, the mercy of Krishna flows through the parampara, and the pipe head is closed. You can only open it if you accept the parampara as your guru, and tat vidhi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya upadekshanti. So humbly serving, humbly following his instructions, and then putting forth questions. So that was the perfection of Parikshit Maharaj. So he put forth nice questions to Sukadev Goswami. Right? And Sukadev Goswami also doesn't directly just start speaking. He also asks for the blessings of the Lord. So therefore, we will hear the prayers of Sukadev Goswami. We started with this last session. So some verses we have already talked about. So I'm just going to quickly recap what all Sukadev Goswami was praying about. So basically, he says, Nama Parasmai Purushaya. He offers his obeisances. Nama means offering obeisances to the supreme enjoyer, Purushaya, the personality of Godhead, Purusha. And Parasmai means the supreme. So he offers his obeisances and he describes him in different ways. He describes the Supreme Lord as Bhuyase or Purnam. He's complete. There is nothing lacking in the Supreme Lord. Even when the Lord creates and expands, there is nothing lacking in the original. It is complete, right? It's like, one divides into two, but the one is still complete. So one can divide into 1,000,000, but the one is still complete. So, and every other unit that is divided also can become complete. So we heard about, the Ishopanishad mantra, Om Purnam Idam Purnam Mada, that particular verse where it says it describes how the Lord is perfect and complete. Then Sukadev Goswami continues to glorify him as Gunavatara. So because he's going to speak about creation, so in the creation of material creation, it is controlled by the guna avatars. So how the Lord comes and takes control of the three gunas. The three gunas are Sattva guna, mode of goodness, Raja guna, passion, and Tamo guna, ignorance. So and Mahavishnu looks after the mode of goodness, Lord Shiva, the mode of ignorance, and Brahma, the mode of passion. So sometimes the Lord himself expands himself in these ways. So that's called Guna Avatar. So we heard about how Lord Shiva is actually a transformation of Lord Vishnu, right? In order to embrace the mode of ignorance, to take control of it. So therefore, we heard about all this. And then Sukadev Goswami glorifies him as Paramatma. How he once created and once taking care of it, he just doesn't stay in one place. He actually expands everywhere, in all corners of the material creation as Paramatma, to witness, to allow, and to guide, and to to be with the living entities. So this is the merciful nature of the Lord. And then he calls him Achintya. So he says he calls him Anupalaksha, which is another word for Achintya. So basically he says the Lord is inconceivable. You cannot understand his abilities and his powers and his amazing, the way he amazingly does things. It is just you have never seen before, we have never experienced it before. It is completely wonderful and wondrous. So that is a quality of the Lord, Achintya. You cannot measure the Lord. You cannot know the beginning and know the end. You cannot even, this is infinite. And then he continues in the next verse. He calls him Akila Sattva Murtyaye. So basically, he's the form. He's form. That means he's glorifying his form. His form, Murtaye, comes from the word Murti. So, and this form is transcendentally situated, is Akila Sattva. It's beyond the mode of goodness. It's Suddha Sattva or Akila Sattva, which means the mode of transcendental mode of goodness. It's not just the mode of goodness, it's beyond the mode of goodness. And then he talks about Sat Vrijina Chide. So basically he says, what is the role of the Lord with regards to his devotees? So the role of the Lord is he is Chide, liberator. Liberator, that means he liberates the pious devotees. Who? The Sat Virgina. The Sat Virgina are the pious devotees. Pious devotees means those who follow his instructions. So that is Sat Virgina Chide. He is the liberator of them. He is the deliverer. And Asatam Asambuya. Asatam Asambhavaya. And not he liberates. So here we see the behavior of the Lord, how he is always on the side of the devotees. He is always partial to the devotees, although the Lord is equal to everyone, right? But he's always especially partial to the devotees. What he does for the devotees, he liberates them, he delivers them, he friends them, he has relationships with them, right? But what does he do to those who are atheist? Asatam. Satam means pure. Asatam means who are the demonic people. What he does, he always bewilders them. He always destroys their plans. He frustrates their plans. So then you can say, oh, the Lord is not fair. It is fair. The Lord created the rules and the laws, and everybody has to follow them. So we have the choice. So we can either accept, just like a parent, you see. So the parent and children, the parent is fair to all the children, but the parent has his rules and order set for the code of conduct for the children. So if it's the child's choice whether he wants to follow and please the parent or not. So nobody, is in that sense, the Lord, just like the parent, is ready to give all love to everybody. So it depends on the reciprocation of the child. So, right, then Rishabha Sattvatam. So he is the best of the Yadu dynasties. So now he's describing that personality, all this description, Bhuyaye, Gunavatara, Paramatma, and everything. Now he's summarizing this person. Who is this person? This person originating is Rishabhaya Sattvatam. That means he is the best of the Yadus. Who is the best of the Yadus? So now it becomes very clear who Sukadev Goswami is talking about. He is talking about the Sakshat Bhagavan, the direct personality of God, the original personality of Godhead. What's that verse? Krishnastu Bhagavan, right? So Krishnastu Swayam Bhagavan. He's the original personality of Godhead. Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa Krishnastu Swayam Bhagavan. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Yeah, that's the verse. So now we know he's directly speaking about the Lord. No other special, no other form. This is the original personality of Godhead, Krishna, not Vishnu. Hmm. And then Vidura Shataya. Vidura Shataya, then he says also, but to understand Krishna, this Rishabha Sattvatam, to understand the best of the Yadus, those who are not devotees or those who are mundane people, the Grihamidis, they will never understand. So Vidura Kshataya means this person, Krishna, is far away from the mundane people. Those who are the Grihamedis, they will not understand. They will always be bewildered. They will think Krishna is an ordinary person, or they cannot understand his position, and they will always find some fault in Krishna. Right. So that's the point. And then Muhu Kuyoginam Nirashta. So, and he always, this is rather similar to the earlier point I mentioned. He creates, he frustrates the plans of the atheists. So the atheists, the atheistic people in the world, the great personalities like Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, or even in the modern world, we have the various capitalists, the presidents of various countries who want to conquer and control. So he always frustrates them. Their plans will never work the way they want to, and it will always, in the end, all become nothing. So that is the point. This is what the Lord does, and this is His mercy, because by doing this, He actually saves them from further degrading themselves. Hmm. So that is the Lord's mercy. Unequaled opulence and greatness, and then he also mentions how this personality, this Krishna, the Lord, has unequaled opulence and greatness. So this is also echoed by Lord Brahma, right? Chintamani prakarashatma sukalpa vriksha. So the place where he lives is full of chintamani. The land, the sand, the pebbles, the rocks are all chintamani, wish-fulfilling gems. And kalpa vrikshas are everywhere, wish-fulfilling desires. And it's surrounded by kamadenu, surabhi cows, wish-fulfilling cows. And it is so beautiful. And there are Sahasra Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrama Sevya Vanam. There are Sahasra Lakshmis, all in the form of various beautiful gopis who are ready to offer any kind of service to the Lord. So this is the opulence of the Lord, right? It's second to no one. So, right, if you see all this, basically Sukadev Goswami is trying to establish a point very clearly. In his prayers, he's trying to show how the Lord is very, very exclusive to the devotees. The Lord is very exclusive. First of all, he's very exclusive. Exclusive means he's very difficult to understand, very difficult to know, very difficult to, to basically understand and to know. And in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says he reserves the right to reveal himself to those only, because here it says, right, he is guna, he is Paramatma, he's Achintya, inconceivable, he's wondrous. So it's difficult for us to understand him fully until we become devotees. So exclusivity for the devotees. We can see already how the Lord is partial. So this is the way to understand. That's why if you read Bhagavad Gita, introduction, Srila Prabhupada says, if you are reading Bhagavad Gita, even if you don't accept Krishna as God, at least theoretically accept Krishna as God. And then read the Bhagavad Gita, then you will be benefited. If you read Bhagavad Gita in a challenging mood, in an atheistic mood, then it will not benefit. So at least theoretically, okay lah, I won't question. I will just theoretically accept first. Right? At least move in that direction. So in this way, the faith will be built little by little. So exclusivity of the Lord to the devotees. All right. But how? How is this done? How is he exclusively available to the devotees? So this will be answered in the next verses that Sukadev Goswami speaks. We also covered this in our previous session. So this is what he says. Tasmai Shubhadre Shravase Namo Name Lokasya Vidunoti Kalmasam. So he says, how one can be known as a devotee, right? If one hears about the Lord, if he hears about the Lord, right, and glorify, so tasmay, so therefore tasmay, we should all, what we should do, Shubhadre Shravase Namo Name, we should offer our obeisances, Namo Name, right, and offer our obeisances and worship to the all auspicious. Shubhadre means all auspicious, to that Lord who is all auspicious and who should be heard about. So it all starts with hearing, Shravase, right? And this person, and when one does this, he becomes Lokashya Vidunoti Kalmasam. He becomes completely free of all sins, the effect of sins. So the effect of sin cannot touch him because he comes under the purview and control of the Yoga Maya energy of the Lord, the internal potency energy of the Lord. The moment one becomes a devotee, he is no longer under Maya, Mahamaya. He comes under the purview of Yoga Maya. So, and then Sukadev Goswami continues to describe the processes which involve bhakti. So, therefore, we heard about hearing, right? Yat kirtanam, so kirtanam, chanting, smaranam, remembering, yat ikshanam. Ikshanam here means audience. That means it's also hearing, right? Darshan. In other words, it's like darshan, taking the darshan of the Lord, right? Yat vandanam. Vandanam means offering prayers. Shravanam. Shravanam is hearing, right? We mentioned that. Arhanam. Arhanam means worshipping, offering worship, right? Or pujam, right? So like this, the processes of devotional service are highlighted over here. So by doing all these things, one becomes free of the effect of sin, and one becomes known as a devotee, and one comes under the purview of the Lord, right, directly. Okay, so now we continue. So to continue, just a moment. All right, so we stopped in verse 15 in our previous session. So we will continue with verse 16. So these are all prayers. So that's why I'm putting all the Sanskrit there. So it's nice to, if we can memorize some of these prayers, whichever the meaning is very nice. So all of these are glorification prayers. We can offer these prayers when we come in front of deities or just to remember the Lord, right? Vichakshanayacharanopasadanak Sangam yudasyobayato antar atmanah vindantihi brahmagatim gata klamas tasmai shubhadra shravase namo namaha. So you see the same mood of prayer, the same type of prayer is being continued in this verse. Because earlier I mentioned how the Lord is described as, therefore offer our obeisances, tasmai, therefore offer our obeisances, namo namaha, to Shubhadra Shravase, that personality who is most auspicious, all auspicious, Subhadra, and who is Shravase. He is the one person everyone should hear about. Shravase means he should be heard about. So we offer our obeisances, or in other words, he's called Uttama Shloka. Uttama Shloka means the topmost person for whom all poetry, all songs, and whatever words in the Vedas are describing, that is the same. So that is the same point here. So Sukadev Goswami, he says, let me offer my respectful obeisances again and again unto the all auspicious Lord Sri Krishna. So we already named him earlier, so I was mentioning. The highly intellectual, simply by surrendering unto his lotus feet. So vichakshana means the intellectual, highly intellectual. So simply by surrendering unto the lotus feet. Yeah, charano means the feet. Upasadana, so upadana, charano pasadanat. So simply by surrendering unto his lotus feet, what happens? They are relieved of all attachments to present and future existences. So in other words, only those who are highly intelligent, uh, whoever are devotees, they are to be understood as highly intelligent. That means they have accepted that the Lord is the supreme personality of Godhead. So and that is, to come to that point, it's not an easy thing. It's not a small piety that we have done in our lives, right? It's a great piety for us to come to the point where we accept the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even that alone. So we should, so it's no mean small thing. So therefore, in other words, the highly and then by this verse, it also says that one should further understand more about the Lord. So therefore, we should hear more. We should hear more, and we should try to understand more about the Lord. And what will happen? They are relieved of all attachment to present and future existence. So if you want to become detached, if you want to be relieved of attachments, right, then we should hear about the glories of the Lord. And without difficulty, progress towards spiritual existence, because this is the basis, right? The basis of spiritual progress is we have to lose taste for matter, for material things. So therefore, for material progress has to, the desire for material progress, the fever, Prabhupada likes to use the word fever. Our material fever must cool down. Then, right? So together it goes hand in hand. So then it becomes, without difficulty, we can progress towards spiritual existence. So Prabhupada says, knowledge of the self is the first step in spiritual realization, which is called confidential knowledge. So that's why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna begins Bhagavad Gita with talking about the soul. So knowledge about the self. So we should understand, right? And Prabhupada says, and a step further is God realization, which is called more confidential knowledge. So in other words, if you read Bhagavad Gita talks about these 5 things, right? It talks about Jiva, us, right? We are the soul, right? That's chapter 2. And then it also talks about karma. So karma is our activities, the souls. We are all embodied in this world. What do? We don't do just nothing, right? We do something. So our activities, we do various activities under the purview of time, right? And within the 3 modes of nature, Prakriti. So in this way, but we are so busy doing this all the time, right? This is described like the bird in the tree, busy eating the fruit of the tree. The tree is like Prakriti, and the jiva is the bird, the parrot, and the fruits of the tree is the karma activities, the eating. The jiva is eating the fruits of the tree, right? And time is passing along the way. But there is another bird sitting on the tree, right? Katha Upanishad and Mundaka Upanishad both mention this example. So not Mundaka, sorry, Svetasvartara Upanishad and Katha Upanishad. In 2 times it's mentioned in 2 different Upanishads, the same example of the bird in a tree. So, and the second bird is Ishvara. So all of this is discussed. So first basic understanding is Jiva. So, and then slowly Ishvara is introduced. So you will see Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, Krishna doesn't directly reveal himself very quickly. He spends the entire chapter talking about Jiva, right? And talking a little bit about work and summarizing the self-realized person. Only towards the end, he gives a hint that he is the Supreme Lord. And then chapter 3, he talks all about karma, right? And here and there, he gives a hint that he is the Supreme Lord, a little bit more hint, but not very direct hints. And then chapter 4, he begins to give a bit more direct hint, because chapter 4 is transcendental knowledge word. So that you can't have transcendental knowledge without talking about Ishvara. And chapter 5 talks about the connection between Jiva, Ishvara, and karma. What kind of karma we can do which connects us to Ishvara, right? So all this is discussed. So this knowledge, right? This knowledge is called Sambandha Gyan. Sambandha Gyan means what is the relationship between the Lord and the devotee. So, and understanding all the elements within this material creation and all that. So this is called Sambandha Gyan. It's the first level of knowledge. And then once we know, right, about what the Lord is, who am I, who's the Lord, and then we know about activities, then comes how we can transform our activities, how we can transform our karma into spiritual activities, which connects us to the Supreme Lord. So that process is called Abhideya, that knowledge, the knowledge that gives us the process of how we can be connected with the Supreme Lord, or in other words, yoga, that is called Abhideya. So you can see chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6, Bhagavad Gita, all speaks about yoga. And then finally, Bhakti Yoga. Okay. So Prabhupada says, and when one attains this stage of God realization, right? So once one knows about the Lord, right? He naturally, voluntarily becomes a devotee of the Lord. So that it's a long process sometimes if they don't become a devotee first of all. If they want to go through the path of jnana by searching outside and then searching the scriptures and then searching within, and then only they realize the super soul, and then only they shift towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan's form. That's a very long process. We heard about this in chapter 2, Srimad Bhagavatam, right? the Lord in the heart, and before that, the yogi's journey from the different planetary systems and all that. So it's a very long process. But if you are fortunate to accept bhakti, right, then in the beginning itself, we can understand that the Lord is the Supreme Person, and the yoga of bhakti is very nice, right? It involves what we described just now: chanting, shravanam, kirtanam, smaranam, all these things. So, and we begin to render loving service to the Supreme Person. So when that happens, right, that we understand now what is the goal. The goal of all that we are doing, the goal of yoga, Abhideya, is to attain the Supreme Lord. So the knowledge about the Supreme Lord, exclusively about the Supreme Lord, who is the Supreme Lord, what are his qualities, what are his leelas, what are his devotees, where does he live, what does he do, all of this, what are his different energies, what is his opulence, so, and what is his relationship with the devotees, right? So all of this is called prayojan. So three types of knowledge: sambandha, abhideya, and prayojan. So prayojan is the ultimate, what is the goal, right? And that is Ishvara, the Supreme Lord. And once we understand prayojan, he interacts with us. This prayojan is not just a one-way arrow. It's not only we trying to reach Ishvara. Once we take up this process of bhakti and attain the Lord also wants to reciprocate so much with us. So therefore starts a very beautiful relationship, a reciprocation of the Lord, right? Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, right, chapter 3, chapter 4, ye yatamam prapadyante tam stathaiva bhajamyaham. He says, as you reciprocate, as you surrender to me, as you come to me, as you approach me, I will reciprocate with you, right? So this is what he says. So this is Prabhupada explaining. I tried to put this in this way, right? Then Prabhupada continues. The same thing is also mentioned by Lord Brahma. So this is in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2. This is Srimad Bhagavatam in Canto 10, actually, in the Brahma Vimohana Leela. So that's the pastime where Lord Brahma, stole away all the cows and all the gopas from Lord Krishna's from Vrindavan, because he wanted to test whether Krishna is really the personality of Godhead. So this pastime where Brahma becomes bewildered, or Brahma Vimohana Leela, right? So after it's all done, Brahma offers these prayers to the Lord. So he says, Shreya Strim Bhaktim Udasyate Vibho Klishyanti Ye Kevala Bodhalabdyaye Tesham Asau Kleshahala Eva Sisyate Nanyat Stala Tusabagatinam. So it means Bhakti Yoga is the highest quality of perfection to be achieved by the intelligent person in lieu of performing a large quantity of spiritual activities. So amongst all the different spiritual activities that are available, right, it must ultimately come to devotion to the Lord. It must lead towards devotion, because that is the ultimate, that is the highest process. So this is the proof, right? It's the proof that bhakti is the highest, right? Many places there are, but in this particular verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's explicitly mentioned how bhakti yoga is the highest. So Prabhupada says, similarly, one should not be attracted by the jugglery of karma kanda or jnana kanda or even the gymnastic performances of yoga. So therefore, we should be very fixed in our determination and do not become disturbed, or, our faith should not shake. We should be quite clear that what we are doing in Bhakti Yoga, this is everything. We don't need to do anything else. Full stop, right? Nothing else we need to do. So therefore, in Karma Kanda, so many rituals and upacharas and this and that and that and this. Simply by following chanting 16 rounds, everything is settled already. You don't have to do anything. That's why it's called Harinam Sankirtan, Kali Yuga Dharma, Harinam Sankirtan Yagya. It's called the Yagya for Kali Yuga. You don't have to do anything else. Simply by chanting 16 rounds, every Yagya, every sacrifice is completely done. So we should have this conviction very, very strongly and not become disturbed or deviated, or because if we go towards other things, that means our faith in chanting is not that strong yet. So we have to develop that faith in chanting. It's the holy name of the Lord. Nam Namakari Bahuda Nijja Sarva Shaktis. Krishna has invested all his potency and energy inside the holy name. And there is not even hard and fast rules to chant. He has made it very simple for all of us in Kali Yuga. This is the mercy of the Lord. So we have to take it. And it has been given. The Lord himself came to give it to us. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, the most munificent incarnation. And within the names, he packed the highest ecstasy of bhakti. Prema Bhakti, Radharani's mood of Prema Bhakti, he packed it inside this chanting of the holy names of the Lord. So it's capable of giving us Radharani's mood of service to the gopis, in the footsteps of the gopis. So therefore, we should have this conviction. So we should not become disturbed by all this, attracted by jugglery and all these things, but skillfully should take to the simple performance. Simple, but not easy, right? Simple, because it's not complicated, right? But it's difficult to continuously do this. So that's our what we need to work on. So simple performances of kirtanam, smaranam, etc. So many times we've been mentioning this here again and again. It all begins with Shravanam, under and sustained by kirtanam and Shravanam, right? Then comes smaranam. Under a bona fide spiritual master, so there's the process. One has to go through this process of taking a bona fide spiritual master and without any difficulty attain the highest perfection. So that's the process, right? So then Shukadev Goswami continues. He says again, same type of prayer, Tasmai Shubhadre Shravase Namo Namaha. Again, he mentions the same thing, right? I offer again and again my obeisances to that personality who is all auspicious and who should only be heard about. So again, he says the same thing. Why? Because no one can achieve any fruitful result. Nobody can achieve any fruitful result without dedication of such great qualities to the of such great qualities to the service of the Lord. So if we do not directly offer everything to the Lord, right, we cannot achieve any real fruit, because whatever fruit we may achieve is temporary. But if you're talking about the real fruit, which is eternal, which it is not temporary, so we have to connect with the Lord in everything that we do. So this is basically chapter 5 Bhagavad Gita, right? How the Lord tells us how we can connect our daily activities, link karma with bhakti. So in other words, karma mishra bhakti in the beginning, but it's a linking. It's the first stage of bhakti, where we do our activities, everything that we do, right? We do it for the sake of the Lord. We connect it somehow with the Lord. So why? So who are we talking about? Who cannot achieve any of the fruitful result? The tapasvino. The tapasvino means those who are great learned sages, those who perform tapasya. So, perform austerities, the tapasvinas. So they could be tapasvis, great sages who perform, or great learned persons. Dana para. Dana means the great performer of charity. So those who are extremely charitable. So whether it is tapasya or charity, yashashvino. Yashashvino means the great worker of distinction. That means they are very famous. They are very, very famous workers, right? So very good in what they are doing, right? So all of these people cannot achieve fruitful result if they do not dedicate their qualities to the service of the Lord. So not only them, somewhere it continues, manasvino. Manasvino means the great philosophers and mystics. So mysticians, the philosophers. Mantra Vida. Mantra Vida means the great chanters of the Vedic hymns, the ones who are expert in chanting the Vedic hymns. Yat Arpanam. So all of this is useless if they do not offer to the Supreme Lord. Okay, so that's basically what it means. And one more, Sumangalaha. Sumangalaha means those who are strict followers of Vedic principles. So they follow Varnashram very strictly and all these things, right? The rules. But all of these people, it's all in vain if they do not connect with the Supreme Lord in some way. So cannot achieve their fruitful result if they do not dedicate their qualities to the service of the Lord. So this is what Sukadev Goswami is again summarizing. So Prabhupada says, there are two kinds of self-interest. So people in the material world, they perform all these things, whether it's tapasya or charity, or become mystic, or they chant mantras, or they perform karma sacrifices. So usually people do this for a selfish reason. So it's due to a self-interest. Self-interest means it's for their benefit somehow. Okay, so Prabhupada describes there are two types in this. There is personal selfishness and extended selfishness. So what is personal selfishness? Personal selfishness means it's directly to ourselves, to us. Okay. Extended selfishness means it's anything which is linked or identify, or something which we identify with. Something which is linked to us or something which we identify with. So example, our family. So that's extended self. If we are only thinking about our family, so that is a form of selfishness. Prabhupada says it is called extended selfishness. And some people are a little bit more open-minded. Oh, my society. So if they're only thinking about their particular society, that's also because why they are worried about their particular society? Because it's linked to them. So linked to us. So therefore, it's also called extended selfishness. So, but Prabhupada says both also have no qualitative difference ultimately, because it's selfish. Whether it is directly us, or you could say, oh, I'm not doing for me, I'm doing for my family, or I'm doing for my charity, I'm doing for my community. So in one way, it is just extended selfishness. It is still only because it is linked to you, or it's linked to us, right? So there is some kind of attachment there. Of course, there is some good, that is not denying it. There are good and everything. But ultimately, this comes under the quality of what we call kripana, miser, because that is not the purpose of our human birth. Our human birth, all this is necessary. Yes, charity, austerity, all this is necessary. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, but it must be linked to the Lord. It must be for the pleasure of the Lord. If we do it for our own satisfaction, or for our own feeling of aggrandizement, or for name, glory, or whatever, or even just simply for sake of duty, it is a waste, right? So that's what, so therefore it becomes called kripanna or miser. So unless there is God consciousness, all good efforts to maintain body and soul together are similar to the attempts of the animals, because there is no connection to the Lord. It's because animals do this, and they take birth again and they die, and they take birth again and they die, and they take birth again. So if we are satisfied with just doing that, then we might as well get the body of an animal, because human body is the ticket for us to escape. and to go out of this cycle of samsara. So if you don't do that, if you don't connect, if you don't do yoga, yoga means to connect with the Supreme, then it's a type of selfishness, and this is called kripanna, miserly. So Prabhupada says, and to become God conscious, one has to hear. So how does one become God conscious? Unless there is God consciousness, all good efforts are all miserly. So, and to become God conscious, Krishna Prabhupada says, one has to hear about the all auspicious Lord as he is described in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So it all starts there, right? As we hear, we chant. We hear, we chant. We hear, we chant, right? And this will be the process in which it will deliver us. So then Sukadev Goswami continues, right? So now you can see he has changed the verse a little bit. So instead of saying Tasmai Subhadre Sravase Namo Namaha, he's now saying Sudhyanti Tasmai Prabhavishnave Namaha. So here he's saying, I offer my obeisances to the all-powerful Lord. Okay, but let's see what he says here first. So here he's saying, he's listing out all the different type of, not all, the different type of sinful groups of people in this world. So, in other words, those who are not in the Vedic system, those who have deviated from the Vedic system, they originated from the Vedic system. So, some remnants of it is there, of Vedic process, Vedic follows, and everything. But they have deviated in the sense that the Supreme Lord is no longer in the picture, or they are following things which are whimsical, not based on the Sanatan Dharma. So it says Kirata, those who are the Kiratas. Kiratas are like the aboriginal tribes, the tribes people, right? The Hunandra, Huns are people, basically they are like the Caucasians, those who originated from Germany, Russia, within the European area, but eastern side, not the western side. So the eastern side of the Caucasians, they are called the Huns, right? Like we know about Attila the Hun. And then there is Andhra. So Andhra is basically in what do you call, in India. So there was some deviations along the way after Parikshit Maharaja's time. So the culture was left off, and then there were deviations, and then of course India became conquered by many places and situations. So therefore, the people of those area is also mentioned here. Pulinda is are the Greeks. So these are the other side of the Caucasian, the west, the western side of the Caucasians, the Greeks. And then Pulkasha. Pulkasha, it doesn't really describe properly. And then Abira. Abira are those in the all the Stan, Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, within that area, the Central Asia. Okay. Sumba is also one of the provinces around that side. Not so clear about where that is. Yavana are the Turks. So the southern Europeans, right? The Turks, sides of Africa and all that. Yavana, but northern Africa, the Moroccans, the Berbers, the Turks, right? And then Kasha. Kasha are the Mongoloidian people, the from Mongolia, from China, so these are all listed. So therefore, all of them, and it says Anye cha Papa. So what it says basically, so these are some of the pictures I'm showing. These are the Celts. This is basically the Pulindas, and then the Kashas, and then this is Abaras. This is the Kasha. This is the Greeks. So all these races and even others addicted to sinful acts can be purified. So all of them can be purified, and they were purified. So some of these places, so that's why we have Tirupati, Balaji is there. So many deities of the Lord. Simachalam is there in Andhra Pradesh, right? So they were all, by the mercy of the Lord, they were all delivered also. So, but the thing is, people should maintain that connection, right? So, but along the time, as time went by, the connections dropped off. So therefore, but no worries, because here Sukadev Goswami says, even all these races and even others addicted to sinful acts can all be purified. How? By taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, because the devotees of the Lord are the link to the Supreme Lord. Without the devotee of the Lord, it's difficult to link with the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, Krishna tells in, I think, Padma Purana it was, he says, those who say, I'm your devotee, they are not my devotees. But those who worship my devotees, they are my actual devotees. That means people who say, I worship Krishna, they are not my devotees, Krishna says. People who worship my devotees, they are my real devotees, Krishna says. So in other words, so that's where again a stress on the service to the pure devotees, to the Bhagavatas. So this is the way to attract the heart of the Lord. Okay? So by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, due to his being the supreme power. So Tasmai Prabha Vishnave Namaha. So the supreme power is Prabha Vishnave, right? And that we have to take shelter through the devotees. So therefore, all the devotees, the Lord sent the devotees to all these places, right? Lord Jesus Christ went to the West, right? And he delivered all these Western people. Yeah. But they should follow. It's just that, but they were delivered at one point of time. And same thing with the Abiras also, the Muslims and all. So they were also delivered, but they should follow strictly, properly, at least, brings them to a higher level, step by step, in a higher level of civil, because their situations were much worse. So the Lord's mercy flowed in all these places through the via medium of the devotee of the Lord. So in the same way, right, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, Buddha came before that to deliver all the atheists, and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came also. Prabhupada then pushed the holy names of the Lord to all over the world, right? So this is basically the devotees of the Lord. So we have to take shelter of the devotees of the Lord. So just like how a tribal person like Mrigari the hunter got converted into devotee, pure devotee, simply by association with Narada. So we know the story how Mrigari was half killing animals. He was a very cruel hunter. He would hunt animals and he will not kill them. He will leave them half dead. And he will just go killing and leave them half dead. So he can see them get tortured. So he was such a sinful person. But even he was able to take up devotional service by the mercy of the pure devotee of the Lord, Narada Muni. So this is the benefit of the pure devotees of the Lord. So we have to hanker after the pure devotees of the Lord, and we need to serve them with every opportunity that we can get. So Prabhupada says, right, Arye, so he mentions this verse from Padma Purana, Arye Vishnu Siladir Gurushu Naramatir Vaishnave Jati Buddhi Sri Vishnu Namni Sabda Samanya Buddhihi, Padma Purana. So basically he says, one should not consider the deity of the Lord as worshipped in the temple to be just an idol, right? Just like how one should not consider the spiritual master, the guru, to be an ordinary person. And just like that, one should also not consider a pure Vaishnava to be coming from a particular caste. So if we think like that, then that is an offense. We should not think, oh, this Vaishnava is from this caste or from this kind of background, so therefore he'll be thinking in that way. So one should not think that way. If we think that way, it is a offense. So that is Prabhupada mentioning here. Right. So then Sukadev Goswami continues. Sa esha atmatvatam adiswaras trayimayo dharmayas tapomaya gata vyalikair aja sankara dibir vitarakya lingo bhagavan prasiratam. So now he changes again. He now says Vitaryaka lingo bhagavan prasidatam. So that means his prasidata means the pleased. he's saying, may the Lord, may Bhagavan, may the Supreme Personality of Godhead be pleased with me, right? Then basically what is he saying over here? He's saying, Sa Esha. He's glorifying. Who is that Bhagavan? Who is that personality of Godhead? That personality, that Bhagavan is Sa Esha. He is one only. One, not many. He's one only. And he is Atma, that Esha Atma. He's that Esha Atma means the super soul, the greatest of the Atma, the Paramatma. So he is the super soul, right? And then he says he is Atmavatam. He's the greatest amongst all the self-realized souls. So this is also mentioned in the Vedas. There is one verse, Nitya Nityanam, Chetana Chetananam, right? And I forgot the rest of it. Basically, it says that amongst all the eternals, there is one supreme eternal, Nitya Nityanam. And then amongst all those who are conscious, there is one supreme consciousness, which is the Parabrahman or the Paramatma of the Supreme Lord. Chetana Chetanasnam. And then, and to serve and to help everyone to satisfy the desires of all other living creatures, this one person is doing it. He is satisfying, he alone is satisfying everyone. So he's providing and supporting and satisfying everybody. So that is that supreme person. So Atmavatam. So that's what it means, right? Then Adiswara. He is the Lord of all Ishwaras. Adi Ishwara, the Lord of all Ishwaras, controllers. Then Traimaya. Traimaya means he is the personification of the Vedas. If all the Vedas were to take a form, basically that's the Lord. So the Vedas represent the Lord. He's a personification of the Vedas. He's Dharma Mayas. He's the personification of Dharma. Whatever he does is Dharma. So he cannot be doing anything which is not Dharma. Even if to our eyes it looks like Adharma, but that is our fault. We do not understand what is Dharma. So he is the personification of Dharma. Whatever he does is Dharma. So, and that's how Krishna says, right? Yat yat achari shrestha tat tat evetaro janaha. Whatever a great man sets an example, the rest of the people are sure to follow. So Dharma was first established by the Lord only. And that's what everybody is following as Dharma. Tapomaya, he is the personification of tapasya. Any kind of austerity, he is the personification of that austerity. So, and this person is worshipped, Vitaryaka Lingo, that means worshipped. And that person is Bhagavan, this Supreme Personality of Godhead. And may he be pleased with me, right? So, and worshipped by who? Worshipped by, here it says, Gata Vyalikair. Gata Vyalikair means those who are above all pretensions. That means those who are liberated, those who are free from the material. So they worship the Supreme Lord, right? The highest form of the Lord, the worship. Example of those who are Gata Vyalikair, he mentions some examples. He says Aja. Aja refers to Lord Brahma. And then he says Shankara. Shankara refers to Lord Shiva. And Adi Bihir. So like that, there are others. And of the others, Sukadev Goswami is one of them also. So like this, he's describing, right? Very nice verse. So, and then he continues to offer his prayers. So he says, Shriya Patir Yajna Patir Prajapatir Diyam Patir Lokapatir Dharapati Atir Gatis Chandaka Vrishni Satvatam Prasidatam Me Bhagavan Satampati. So he says, may that Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Pati, the master of the devotees. Satam means the devotees, of the pious, right? May that person, the Supreme Bhagavan, who is the master of the Pati, who is the master of the devotees, may he be pleased with me. So here he is describing the Lord in so many different ways as being the master of this, the master of that. So Let's hear what all the masters. So Shriya Patir. Shriya Patir means the master of all opulence. Opulence. So Shri is another name for Lakshmi. So opulence, any kind of opulence, he is the master. The Lord of Lakshmi is Vishnu, right? And the Lord of all the Lakshmis is Krishna, because Sahasra Satata Brahma Sevyamanam. And then Yajnapati. Yajnapati means he is the master of Yajna, all sacrifices, any sacrifices to be performed, he is the master. That's why he's also called Yagneshwar. Yagneshwar. It's called Yagneshwara, right? Prajapati. He is the master of all the Praja. Praja means all living entities. He is the master of them. Dhiyampati. Dhiyampati means he is the master of intelligence, the resting place of intelligence, or those who are intelligent. And then Lokapati, master of all planets, planetary systems, everything. And Dharapati. Dharapati means earth. So the Lord of the earth specifically. So special place, the earth, right? And so in this way, Sukadev Goswami is glorifying the Supreme Lord. And he is here it's also mentioned, Chandaka Vrishni Satvatam. And who is this person? Again, it describes that person very specifically. He is the protector and the glory of all the kings like Andaka and Vrishni of the Yadu dynasty. So who is he? Who is Sukadev Goswami again talking about? He's talking about Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead, Swayam Bhagavan, because he is the master of the Vrishni dynasty. He took birth in the Vrishni dynasty, right? So therefore, he's talking about the supreme Lord Krishna. So then Sukadev Goswami continues. So here he says, Yad Angri Abhidyana Samadhi Dautaya Diyanu hi Tattvamatmanaha Vadanti Chaitat Kavayo Yata Rucham Same Mukundo Bhagavan Prasidatam. So he says, let that person, Bhagavan, who is Mukunda, be pleased with me. So Mukunda is also known as the giver of liberation and is a common name for Krishna, right? So it says Yat Angri Abhidyana Samadhi Dautaya. So Yat Angri means lotus feet. So the lotus feet of the Lord. So if one remembers the lotus feet of the Lord, so here it says Abhidyana. So Abhi means constantly. If one is constantly dhyana means meditating upon in such a way that is like samadhi, always, right? What is he meditating upon? The lotus feet of the Lord, right? So what will happen? His intelligence will become washed, cleaned, purified. So if one meditates constantly on the lotus feet of the Lord, his intelligence becomes washed or purified, right? And what happens then? Dhyanu hi tattvam atmanaha. So he says, by thinking of his lotus feet at every second, following in the footsteps of authorities. So this is another important point. Adi anupasyanti. So how do we meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord? And so this can be done through the instruction given by the acharyas. So we have to follow in the footsteps of the parampara, right? Following in the footsteps of the authorities. So diya anupasyanti. That means you have to follow in the parampara system. You have to follow in the footsteps of devotees. So this is the way how we can come to the point where we can meditate upon the Supreme Lord's lotus feet constantly. So by thinking of his lotus feet at every second, following in the footsteps of authorities, right? What will happen? Dautaya, our intelligence becomes purified, washed. And as a result, the devotee in trance can see the absolute truth. So, Tattvam Atmanaha, he will be able to see the absolute truth directly, right? Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says the same thing. He says, Raja Vidyam Raja Guhyam. This knowledge I'm giving you is the king of all knowledge, and it is the most secret of all knowledge, right? And it is Raja Vidyam Raja Guhyam Idam Pavitram Uttamam. It is purifying, it cleanses everything. So you see, the same point is mentioned here. Our intelligence is washed away, Dautaya. Same thing is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, right? Idam Pavitram Uttamam is the most pure of everything. It purifies everything within that comes to contact, right? Idam Pavitram Uttamam. Pratyakshavāgamam dharmyam, one is able to witness directly that supreme personality of Godhead. So same thing is mentioned here also. He tattvam atmanaha, that absolute truth one is able to witness. The devotee can, in trance, can see the absolute truth. So Prabhupada says, eternal servitude of the Lord, even after salvation, this humbleness of the pure devotee who is 100% engaged in his service. So just now I mentioned meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord, right? What do we mean meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord? So meditating on the lotus feet of the Lord here means that we are ready to serve the Lord 100%. So eternal servitude, that means even after we are liberated, we are liberated and free from this material creation. Our desire is to constantly be at the lotus feet of the Lord to serve Him. So that mood that we always want to serve Him and never want to be separated from His service, that mood is what is meant by constantly meditating on His lotus feet. So that is what is understood here. And this feeling is humility of the devotee, because the devotee never wants to become the Lord. He wants to be the servant of the Lord. So this is a representation of his humility. So the humility of this Lord in this way, it becomes very attractive to the Lord. And as a result, the Lord reveals himself to them. So, and reciprocates with them. So Prabhupada continues, in this way, there is a famous Alvar, King Kulashekara Alvar, right? So he is a very famous prayer. Prabhupada likes to sing this prayer a lot. Krishna Tvadiya Pada Pankaja Pancharanta Madhyaiva Me Vishatu Manasa Raja Hamsa Pranaprayana Samaye Kapavata Pita Kanta Varadhara Vidau Smaranam Kutaste. So the meaning of that is basically it's saying like, I pray, it's very beautiful, poetically spoken. It says that let my Manasa Rajahamsa. Manasa Rajahamsa means let the swan of my mind. So it's referring to the mind as a swan. Let the swan, that means in other words, the mind is already purified. Let the swan of my mind, after purification, after liberation even, let the swan of my mind always immediately sink down to the stems of the lotus. The swan always likes to play with the lotus. It likes to dip his head towards the stem of the lotus, and is always entangled with the lotuses like that. So just like the swan always being entangled with the lotuses in the pond, let my mind, the swan of my mind, always be entangled in the lotus feet of the service of the Lord. So let me always meditate this way now, because at the time of death, right, when the kapha, vata, and pitta, it clogs my throat and my senses, it becomes difficult. So let now, when I'm healthy and hale, let me spend my time now in doing what I can to focus my mind on your lotus feet. So this is the prayer of King Kulashekara Alvar. So it's a nice prayer. We can always try to remember. So anyway, so Prabhupada mentions this in regards to this verse also. So then, but Vadanti Chaitat Kavayo Yata Rucham. The learned mental speculators, however, think of him according to their whims. So therefore, in other words, devotees never approach the Lord with their own whims. They always follow authority, right? They always follow the scripture, right? Because Bhagavad Gita chapter 16:23, Krishna says, Ya Shastra Vidim Usarja Vartate Kama Kartaha Nasa Siddhim Avapnoti Na Sukam Na Param Gatim. So he says, if one doesn't follow the injunctions of scripture and one whimsically approaches spirituality, thinking that they can do whatever they want, what happens to them? They attain neither uh, special abilities, they don't attain perfection, they don't attain happiness, and they don't attain the ultimate goal. So this is the problem. So therefore, this is what happens. Mental speculators, they are not devotees. So you can be learned, the learned mental speculators, if they are not coming in line with parampara, if they have not taken shelter of a pure devotee, right, then they fall under this category of learned mental speculators. Hmm. So they will think whatever according to their whims. They will think Krishna is an ordinary person. They will think Krishna is something else. So that's why Krishna in Bhagavad Gita also he says, right, the fools deride me when I come down amongst them because they don't understand. Right. So then in chapter 18 also, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you have to be conscious of me following my instruction. But if you allow your ego, your false ego to dictate, then you will become lost. So these are some warnings, right, to given. Sukadev Goswami is mentioning over here. And then continues, Prachodita yena pura saraswati vita. So anyway, I'll just speak to the verse directly. So the Lord in the beginning of the creation amplified the potent knowledge. So now Sukadev Goswami is going to answer Parikshit Maharaja's question. So he's after giving all the glorification, all the prayers, asking for the Lord to be pleased with him, requesting the Lord's permission, right? He is now coming to the point where he's talking about how this knowledge came down, the original knowledge. So he says, the Lord in the beginning of the creation amplified the potent knowledge of Brahma from within his heart. So we heard how previously when Brahma was born, he was given knowledge, he was self-born, right? Within the lotus coming out from Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. So then when he awoke, it was all dark. Everything was darkness. Agyana Timirandasha. He was in darkness. And then he prayed, he offered prayers. He did austerity because he heard the word tapa. Krishna said the word tapa to him. He heard, so then he performed austerity. He became purified. And after he became purified, then the Lord became merciful to him and blew his flute. And by the flute, the sound of the flute entered through the ear in the form of the Gayatri mantra. And that's basically the Srimad Bhagavatam also. The seed verses of Srimad Bhagavatam entered into the mind of Lord Brahma and entered into his heart. So then he says, the Lord in the beginning of creation, what he did after the knowledge entered into Brahma's heart, he said the Lord amplified the potent knowledge because the Lord is also in the heart of Brahma, right? Paramatma. So the Lord amplified this knowledge from within his heart and inspired him with full knowledge of creation and of his own self. So he gave knowledge from within his heart, Chaitya Guru. So whatever knowledge he passed through the years of Lord Brahma, when it entered into the heart, it exploded into a large amount of knowledge about creation. So this is what the Lord does. So that's why we should purify ourselves by our sadhana, and we should please the Lord by serving his devotees, and we should strictly follow our sadhana by chanting, and this is all purificatory processes, and it at the same time it also reveals the voice of the Paramatma within our heart. It removes the clutter within our heart so that we can become connected to the Paramatma even better. So, and then when we hear continuously, right, the knowledge or the sound vibration enters into our heart when we hear attentively. And when it enters into our heart, because Paramatma is there and because our heart is already being purified and cleansed by the chanting and the processes, and the Lord is already favorable towards us because we are pleasing his devotees, right? then the Lord will reciprocate directly. Ye yataman prapadyante. What he does, he tesham satatam yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam. So yenamam upayantite. So within the heart, he will amplify that knowledge and give us realizations and understandings. He will show us how to get back to him. So he says, I will show my devotee how to come back to me from within my heart, from within the heart. So this process is also mentioned by Sukadev Goswami here. So just he's using Brahma as the example, how Brahma was inspired from within the heart, all right? And Prabhupada says the Vedas are therefore called Apaurishaya. Apaurishaya means not created by human beings, not manufactured. It came transcendental. It's transcendentally flowed into the heart of, into the ears of Brahma, the first living being, and into the heart of Brahma, and where Paramatma further expanded the knowledge. And therefore it is called Apaurushaya. It is breathing of the Lord. It is not mundane, it is transcendental. So before the creation, the Lord was there. So before creation, Lord was there. Narayana Paro Vyaktat, this is mentioned in the Vedas, right? Narayana is supreme and he's beyond the material creation. And therefore, the words spoken by the Lord are narrations of transcendental sound. So this sound which entered into Brahma's ears, the same sound which Brahma is now speaking to Narada, and how Narada spoke to Vedavyas, and how Vedavyas spoke to all the various personalities coming down by parampara, right? So this knowledge within the heart of Brahma, and Brahma later appeared to be generated from, and this knowledge later appeared from the mouth of Brahma. So this knowledge entered the ears of Brahma, went into the heart, magnified by Paramatma within the heart, and came out through the four mouths of Brahma, right? And passed through the parampara like this. So, and each passing of the parampara, the knowledge became sweeter and sweeter and sweeter, and it became, more and more expanded. Because initially the Lord only gave 4 verses. Srimad Bhagavatam was just 4 verses. And from the heart of Brahma, it expanded into many, many verses. And each verse, as it passed through the parampara, the purports were added, the descriptions were added, the examples were added. It became sweeter and sweeter, the narration. It became very, very digestible by the conditioned souls. So may the Lord be pleased with me. So this is the prayer of Sukadev Goswami. Because Sukadev Goswami is about to answer Parikshit Maharaj, so therefore he is reciting this example. So may whatever I speak, coming from the parampara also become potent, and therefore may the Lord be pleased with me. So I should also memorize this verse. We should, whoever it's a very nice verse to say, because if we are trying to preach, then we should get the mercy of the Lord. Okay, I'll note that down. So Prabhupada says, there is a gulf of difference between the 2 qualities of sound. It's an interesting point. We know sound, right? But sound, there are 2 qualities. One is called Prakrita sound. The other one is Aprakrita. Prakrita means manifest, and Aprakrita means not directly manifested. So the Prakrita sound is the sound that we understand in material world. So the physicist or the scientist can deal only with the Prakrita sound. So they say sound travels at this particular speed, right? It needs a medium to travel through. So that's Prakrita sound. But sound can also come as sound waves, and sound waves doesn't need medium. So that's how the transcendental Om sound came. It was heard in the universe also, in the star systems. So this kind of sound is called Aprakrita. So Aprakrita means unmanifest. This kind of sound can also be represented as symbols. So that's why the Om symbol, right? We have yantra. We have the yantra which shows the Om symbol. So that sound of Om can also be represented by a symbol, by design, by diagram. by certain frequencies, shape. So that is all aprakrita, unmanifested. So it's a very interesting topic, right? So the physicists can deal only with the prakrita sound, the manifest sound, or sound vibrated in the material sky, right? And therefore, we must know that the Vedic sounds recorded in symbolic expressions cannot be understood by anyone within the universe unless and until one is inspired by the vibration of supernatural sound, aprakrita, supernatural sound, transcendental sound, which descends in the chain of disciplic succession. So that's the thing. So someone who is not a devotee, not in disciplic succession, even though he reads the scriptures, whatever he reads is only prakrita sound, manifested sound only. It does not carry the potency of aprakrita sound. So the aprakrita sound, the transcendental potency, only comes through the disciplic succession. So, and it's not something which we can measure because it is transcendental. So we don't have the ability to measure the transcendental sound, right? So, but this is what the scriptures say. So they cannot understand, they cannot be understood. This scriptural information and knowledge cannot be understood unless one is inspired or initiated by the authorized spiritual master. Otherwise, it is useless. Nisfala mataha. So this is a verse from the Padma Purana. Padma Purana says any mantra that you get, unless it comes through disciplic succession, that mantra is useless. So, that's why Gayatri mantra and all these things, we cannot just hear from the TV and then just recite. It doesn't work that way. It has to come through Guru. Guru has to say, because what we hear from the TV and everything, it is just the prakrita sound, the material sound. The spiritual sound is truncated, is missing. That will only come through the disciplic succession. So that is the power. So that's the fineness, the subtlety of spiritual knowledge. So we have to understand. So it's very interesting, right? How Sukadev Goswami is putting all these things very clearly before he begins the Srimad Bhagavatam narration of creation. So now as I said, he's beginning to speak about creation. So then at the same time, he's still requesting blessings from the Lord. He's offering prayers. So here he says, Bhuter Mahadir, okay, I'll just read the verse. The Lord enlivens the materially created bodies of the elements by lying down within the universe. So this is how creation began, Sarga, primary creation. Mahavishnu lies down on Karana Dakashayi ocean, the ocean of causes, causal ocean. This ocean came from the pores of his body. The water from the pores of his body became a large ocean, and the Lord lied down within this ocean and went to sleep, Yoga Nidra. So, but he enlivens the materially created bodies. So it is the spirit soul which enlivens matter. Matter is inert and dead otherwise. It is the spirit soul within the matter which enlivens it. Just like a light bulb. You can have a light bulb, but without electricity, the light bulb is just dull and dead. It is the electricity within the light bulb which enlivens it, right? So the same way is the spirit spark coming from the Supreme Lord, which is all of us, right? Which is enlivening our gross material bodies. So Bhuter Mahadbir Ya Ima Puro Vibur. Vibhu, the Lord who is Vibhu, right? And he who is Purusha, the ultimate shelter of all living entities, right? The Bhuta, all the living entities within the material creation are enlivened. So this is how it happens. In his Purusha incarnation, so this Karano Dakashayi Vishnu, and then he enters into each universe as Garbho Dakashayi Vishnu. So these are called Purusha avatars, right? So in his Purusha incarnation, causes the living being to be subjected to the 16 divisions of material elements originating from him. So these material elements originating from him, the material modes, the divisions of material modes originating from him. So everything comes from the Lord. Matter, spirit, not only spirit, matter also comes from the Lord, but not directly. Matter comes indirectly, right? From the material energy. But material energy ultimately comes from the Lord also. So spiritual energy, however, directly comes from the Lord. So we directly come from the Lord, whereas material energy is indirect. It's a shadow. And we are mixing with the shadow energy of the Lord. Okay? So, and the 16 elements. So this material nature is, it has, the 16 elements we interact with. So the 5 Panchabhutas, earth, water, fire, air, ether, right? And then there is the Jnana Indriyas, the senses of the eyes, the ears, the nose, and all that. And then there's the Karma Indriyas, right? So that's 5 plus 5 plus 5. That's 15, plus the mind, right? 16. So therefore, the 16, these are the 16 elements in which the Purusha incarnation causes the living being to be subjected to the 16 divisions in this way. So then Sukadev Goswami is especially reciting this particular thing because he's talking about creation. So he says that may that Bhagavan be pleased to decorate my statements. So alankar, we say deity alankar. So alankarishta. So may the Lord be pleased with me and may he decorate my statements, my words. So he's begging, Sukadev Goswami is begging for the mercy of the Lord. Why is he begging like this? So Prabhupada is saying, as a fully dependent devotee, so devotees are always dependent on the Lord. And Parikshit Maharaj is Mahabhagavat. So he's fully dependent on the Lord, fully surrendered. Sukadev prays for the mercy of the Lord for 2 reasons. Not only for being helped personally, right? That's why we pray, right? Mukam karoti vachalam, pangum langayati girim, right? The dumb can speak, the lame can climb mountains and reach for the stars. So this is by the mercy of the Lord. So we want the mercy of the Lord so that we can speak something useful and in line with the parampara in glorification of the Lord for the benefit of others, right? And for ourselves also. Okay. But not only for that reason. So he's invoking the mercy of the Lord to decorate my statements, our statements, so that whatever we speak becomes easy for others to understand also. It increases the faith in others. So therefore, also for helping others to whom he would like to speak. So therefore, before we preach, before we do book distribution, before we do any service, it's common that we request the blessings of the Lord in doing anything, right? So that we can do it pleasingly for the Lord's pleasure. And at the same time, the devotees, the people who we are preaching to, or the recipients or the beneficiary of our service, gets the full benefit. So in this way, it's coming to an end. So this is the second last verse. Namastasme Bhagavate Vasudevaya Vedase Papur Jnanam Ayam Saumya Yan Mukam Burusasavam. So there Sukadev Goswami is saying, I offer my respectful obeisances. So finally, he is offering obeisances to his own guru. So his guru is Vyasadev because he heard Bhagavatam from Vyasadev. And Vyasadev is his own father also, right? And Bhagavatam was originally written by Vyasadev. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto Srila Vyasadev, the incarnation of Vasudeva. Vasudeva is Krishna, right? So Vyasadev is not an ordinary person. He's the literary incarnation of the Lord, right? And he wrote the Bhagavatam, which is also an incarnation of the Lord. So it takes the Lord to produce the Lord. So Bhagavatam is special, right? It's not written by man. It is Apaurushaya, coming directly from the Lord. It's Amala Purana, spotless, not a touch of anything not correct or impurities in it. It is completely pure. Who compiled the Vedic scriptures? The pure devotees drink up the nectarian transcendental knowledge, dropping from the lotus-like mouth of the Lord. So this is the enthusiasm of the pure devotees. Just like the chakora birds, the chakora birds is described that it seems they don't drink water from the ground. The only way they drink water is they wait for the rain to fall. So they keep their mouths open. So if it doesn't rain, they go thirsty.
So, but they are always only waiting for the rain to fall. So they are so eagerly waiting. So therefore, the pure devotees are like that, very eagerly waiting to hear the nectarian transcendental knowledge dropping from the lotus-like mouth of the Lord. And this knowledge is so beautiful. It is very poetic. It is described, in very nice ways. So many examples, so many metaphors, so analogies. So it's very nice to hear, very satisfying to the heart, very purifying to the mind. So then the last verse in this chapter. So after offering all the prayers, now Sukadev Goswami is ready to answer Parikshit Maharaj. He says, "My dear king, I am going to answer your question because by telling another the answer given when the same question that you asked was given to Lord Brahma. So Narada Muni asked the same question that you are asking me to Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma gave this answer to Narada Muni. So I'm going to repeat that." So he's saying that, right? Brahma, the firstborn, on being questioned by Narada, exactly apprised him on this subject, as it had been directly spoken by the Lord Hari to his own son Brahma, who was Veda Garbha. And Veda Garbha means he's pregnant with Vedic knowledge. Because remember, I mentioned the Lord exploded the Vedic knowledge from within the heart. He expanded it. So he was very, Brahma, in a poetic way, was described, he's very impregnated with Vedic knowledge right from his birth. So he's the perfect person to understand the conclusion of the Vedic scriptures. So, and that personality, Brahma, answered the question of Narada. So let me, instead of saying myself, let me repeat what Lord Brahma said to give you the answer. So that's the way of devotees. So devotees never concoct, right? They always deliver the version which they have heard through parampara. So that's the question. So Prabhupada says the language of the Vedas can be revealed only by the above mentioned disciplic succession and not otherwise. So you can see this entire chapter. Sukadev Goswami is clearly establishing several points. The first point is that the Lord is not ordinary. It's difficult to understand the Lord. The Lord cannot be understood by material approach. He has to be that he's achintya, he's inconceivable, so that's one thing. Second thing he's saying is the only way to understand the Lord is through his pure devotees. So that's another point, right? And by the process of devotional service. So this is mentioned again. And then he shows the etiquette of how to do this by asking blessings from the Lord, by offering prayers to the Lord, by describing the Lord in different ways. And then to also, and when they answer based on scripture. They repeat scripture. They don't concoct their own, because only the Lord can give directly on his own. So they repeat what they've heard and they answer So this is the way of devotional service. Okay, so let us digest everything that we have heard today. Let us chant Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you very much for patiently listening and waiting with us. So any questions? Anyone has any doubts you'd like to clarify?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I know it's getting late. I'm sorry.
No problem.
I'm just wanted to clarify something in Srimad Bhagavatam 2:4:16. 2:4:16. Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda both play the same role, and gymnastic performance of yoga, right? So, I mean, if I'm wrong, please correct me. Now, my question is, the same Srimad Bhagavatam, you know the grocery page, the last page.
Grocery?
Grocery page, the last page. It's written Karma Kanda, it is written the portion of the Vedas describing rituals to be performed for material benefit.
Yeah.
Now, Srimad Bhagavatam also suggesting these Karma Kanda can be done through rituals. Now, what are the rituals? Any idea?
Rituals means like all the various karma kandas. Basically, in varnashram, both the ashram as well as the varnas, they have various rituals. Like when we get married, we have the vivaha ceremony. When we buy a new house, we have a graha pravesh ceremony. So different rituals. These are all material. You want to do a graha pravesh because you want prosperity. You want good things, you want shubham, this kind of things. So that is karma kanda. So we are only interested in material things, that if people perform rituals in this mood, so that is karma kanda, because they have a desire, they have a material desire. That's basically the karma kanda. What is karma kanda? Does that answer the question?
Okay. Now I understand, Prabhu. Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
All right, Hare Krishna. Any other questions? Anything else? Nope. Right. So if nothing further, right, then thank you very much for your time again. So we will once again Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. I'll see you all then. Any questions, you can just put in the WhatsApp. Okay,
Thank you,
thanks.
Prabhu. Hare
Bye.
Krishna. Thank you,
Hare
Pastor.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.